That's right. Many see the big lie. Many more and many more. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is April 15th, 2025, Income Tax Day. Oh, joy. Oh, bliss. Yeah, do what they tell you to do. Yeah, but guess what? You won't be trusted anymore. Anyway, welcome to the Tuesday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm vonKleist, host of this madness in broadcasting, and I'm glad to have you aboard, and I hope you're spreading the message. And if you're listening through our website, that's a great thing. Our website, of course, is TheWTFReports.com. And we're also on Rumble and BitChute and YouTube, and we're adding more platforms as funds will allow. And for that reason, I respectfully and humbly request that you visit our website and do business with our sponsors, one of which is Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee, medium, light, dark roast, whatever you prefer. They've got some good stuff. If you're sick of buying the store-bought coffee and you'd like some really good coffee and it serves a good purpose, well, you need to go to Blackout Coffee. They've got signature blends. They have the no compromise. And by the way, they are very strong supporters of the Second Amendment, our first responders, and our military. So do business with patriots. Go to TheWTFReports.com, visit our sponsors page, and get yourself some good Blackout Coffee. Okay, that said, a couple of different issues that I think are kind of important that we pay attention to. Last week, of course, I was talking about the high school graduate from Hartford High School, Hartford, Connecticut. And she graduated with honors, and yet she is totally and absolutely illiterate. She can't read. She can't write. And she graduated with honors and now was accepted to the UConn, the University of Connecticut. Now, I don't understand how anybody can support the Department of Education when they're graduating high school kids without the basic necessities to survive in today's society. I don't get it. As a matter of fact, over the weekend, I saw a junior high school student in Hawaii. And he was obviously a little bit concerned about making this little video. And so he was talking in a real low voice like this. And he says, what kind of BS? He actually said that look what the assignment is that they gave us. Now, this is a junior in high school. And he turned the camera around and showed it was basically like a coloring book and a little word puzzle, things that you give thanks for. I think it was having to do with a Thanksgiving celebration or something. But, I mean, here's a junior in high school, and they're basically giving him busy work that you'd see in a grade school, activity book. Now, how are we going to pull this out? How do we fix this? Because we've got several generations now that really are on a non-functional level. They have little or no cognitive skills whatsoever. They've been basically, shall we say, indoctrinated. And I can't help but think that, George Carlin was absolutely right when he went on this particular rant. You remember George Carlin, don't you? Yeah, here he is.
There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. There's a reason education sucks.
That's right. There's a reason. And he was absolutely right. I remember 20 years ago when I was doing the Power Hour, we had as a fairly regular guest Charlotte Iserby. Now, she wrote the book, The Dumbing Down of America. And she was involved with the Reagan administration. And she was seeing from the inside what the Department of Education was doing. And yes, their sole purpose is to lower the educational standards in this country. And that's been their job since day one. I can say that with confidence because of the fact that when you hire somebody and you give them a contract, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. When you hire somebody and you give them a one-year contract, at the end of the year, you review their performance and decide whether they're doing a good job or a bad job. You either keep them on if they're doing the job that you want them to do, but if they're doing the job you don't want to do, you fire them and you get somebody else, right? Well, that's, if you apply that to what happened with the Department of Education, I mean, the United States was number one in the world, right up at the top, as far as the quality of education is concerned. Well, the Department of Education came in and started screwing around with the curriculum on a national scale. And what do you know, Glorioski, the standards started to drop. And it dropped consistently year after year after year. And the government kept renewing the contract year after year after year, which indicates to me that the Department of Education was doing exactly what the government wanted. They don't want a high standard of education in this country for the same reasons that George Carlin pointed out all those years ago. Rest his soul. So the point is that the Department of Education is an absolute screw-up. And we also know, now that Doge is in there, we're finding out exactly how much money actually goes into education, how much goes into administrations and principals and assistant principals and all that stuff. When you think about where that money is allocated, you start to understand why Doge is so doggone important right now. Now, the thing is that, as they say, a lie told often enough becomes the truth. You remember, let me see if I've got this here. Where is that? Here it is. I'm going to play a little clip for you because, as I said, a lie told often enough becomes the truth. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard this audio clip. I'll play the beginning of it and the end of it. Here it is.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media
Yeah, you've heard this, right? You've seen the video. All these local affiliate stations spewing the exact same script.
And agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Extremely dangerous to our democracy. We've heard that before, haven't we? Yeah, well, guess what? Well, we all know, for those of you listening to this broadcast, I have to assume if this is Red State Talk Radio, most of you already understand that this is a republic and not a democracy. But as I said, a lie told often enough becomes the truth. So they got everybody saying we have to save the world for democracy. No, this is not a democracy. It's a republic. But guess what? The powers that be have shifted their words now. It's no longer saving the world for democracy. The democracy has changed. Now they have a new word. Here it is.
If the Democrats fail, it might be the end of American bureaucracy.
Our bureaucracy really is in fundamental peril.
The foundations of American bureaucracy under attack.
They want to destroy our bureaucracy.
We are a bureaucracy in danger.
We're watching an election where people are on the ballot openly advocating the end of bureaucracy.
That's what Republicans are doing, attacking bureaucracy, attempting to destroy bureaucracy, and they're doing it with glee.
This is the end of bureaucracy in America.
When will America stop sleepwalking towards the end of bureaucracy?
Right. It's Democrats versus, as Bill Kristol says, the end of bureaucracy.
They're insane.
Essentially, as Neil put it, one vote away from sort of the end of bureaucracy as we know it.
I think our bureaucracy and the stability of that bureaucracy is really the thing on the ballot and really so important.
So now the word is bureaucracy. And I don't understand how anybody in their right mind can be saying the things that they are. We know what a bureaucracy is. Let's get a couple of other people to explain this. In 2008, Ron Paul had this to say about bureaucracy.
Your answer is to cut both taxes and spending. You say that you would eliminate the IRS, the CIA, the Federal Reserve.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right here. This is from the Republican convention where they were having the debates. And this was on Fox News. And if you listen, you'll hear the guy giggling in the background. They wanted Ron Paul to look like a crazy person. So that's why when you're saying you want to do away with this, do away with that, and the guy's going, and he's trying to make Ron Paul look stupid. But anyway,
IRS,
here we go.
the CIA, the Federal Reserve, the Department of Homeland Security, Medicare. I know that you used to want to end the FBI. I'm not sure whether you still support that idea, sir. Perhaps you can tell us. But if you get
they left that mic open on purpose, I'm sure.
FBI, how would President Paul have any idea, any intelligence of what our enemies, foreign and domestic, are up to?
Well, you might ask a better question. Before 9/11, we were spending $40 billion a year. And the FBI was producing numerous information about people being trained on airplanes to fly them but not land them. And they totally ignored them. So it's the inefficiency of the bureaucracy that is the problem. So increasing this with the Department of Homeland Security and spending more money doesn't solve the problem. Yes, we have every right in the world to know something about intelligence gathering, but we have to have intelligent people interpreting this information. But, you know, just going for increasing presidential powers, as been discussed, is rather disturbing to me. This whole idea that we're supposed to sacrifice liberty for security, we were advised against that. Don't we remember that when you sacrifice liberty for security, you lose both? That's what's happening in this country today. We have a national ID card on our doorsteps. It's being implemented right now. We have FISA courts.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. Stop. He just mentioned the national ID card, which everybody was absolutely opposed to. We'll come back to that in a couple minutes here. Just think about that for a second. Everybody was against the national ID, and yet now they're all right behind the voter ID, which is the same thing.
Have warrantless searches. We've lost habeas corpus. We've had secret prisons around the world, and we have torture going on. That's un-American, and we need to use the power of the presidency to get it back in order to take care of us and protect this country and our liberties.
Thank you, Congressman. Let's see what the...
Yeah, and get rid of that bureaucracy, right? Now, another reason that we're paying attention to that word bureaucracy, as a matter of fact, Senator Kennedy had something to say about that. Let's see if I can make that play without screwing the thing up. Here we go.
It strikes me as breathtakingly ironic. The cynic might say cynical. That the people who are screaming so loudly about President Trump's decision to audit federal spending are the very same people under President Biden who wanted to hire 80,000 new IRS agents with guns
87,000
to audit the American people. As I've said before, if it weren't for double standards, there wouldn't be any standards at all in this town. The battle lines are drawn, Mr. President. The battle lines are drawn. Some of my colleagues have decided to support the bureaucracy.
There's the word.
And the spending porn over the American taxpayer. That's what they've done. And some of the same people, it's not just my Democratic colleagues. There are many people in Washington, D.C. that have grouped together, and they've circled the wagons, and they've decided to support the spending porn and the bureaucrats over the American taxpayer. That's their right. It's not against the law or unconstitutional to be foolish in America. But these are the same people. These are the same people who chose to support illegal immigration over the rule of law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we go from democracy to bureaucracy, and then we go to hypocrisy, okay? But before we go to hypocrisy, I got one more clip here. This is Elon Musk in regard to that magic word bureaucracy. Here he is.
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice perhaps. But they seem to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where do they come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it.
Mm-hmm. So you may have heard he had that word bureaucracy in there as well. They're bureaucrats. They support bureaucracy. And I don't understand how anybody with an American spirit can support bureaucracies. That's not what this country's all about. But anyway, and then we get into hypocrisy. Now, that's another one. I'm going to take you back, and it's sort of a semi-related topic. But, of course, right now, everybody's been screaming about Trump's tariffs and how it's going to tank this and it's going to tank that and destroy our economy. Well, guess what? He's not the only one that was talking about that. Let's go back to the debate of 2016, and Hillary and, of course, Donald Trump are going back and forth. Here's what Hillary had to say about tariffs.
Trump talks about it all the time. Well, let's start with this. It is true that too often past trade deals have been sold to the American people with rosy scenarios that did not pan out, that have seen factories close and jobs disappear. China and other countries have gamed the system for too long. Investments at home that would make us more competitive have been completely blocked in Congress. And American workers and communities have paid the price. The answer is to finally make trade work for us, not against us. So as president, I will stand up to China and anyone else who tries to take advantage of American workers and companies. And when countries break the rules, we won't hesitate to impose targeted tariffs.
My. Isn't that amazing? And it's okay if Hillary and the Democrats talk about tariffs. And, I had a couple of clips I played last week, and maybe I could pull those up when I take a commercial break. But Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, as a matter of fact, Nancy Pelosi was on the House floor, I think it was in 2010, and she was holding up a chart just like Trump was holding up a chart last week when he was talking about these reciprocal tariffs. And, well, what do you know? Pelosi had a chart too. And what do you know? Back in the late 90s, Chuck Schumer was talking about tariffs as well. But again, hypocrisy is something that word does not compute with the left. It doesn't compute with the, and I don't even want to call them Democrats anymore. It gives the Democratic Party a dirty name. They're basically socialists. They're open about it. But the bottom line here is that they're hypocrites and they're liars. So I wanted to share that with you because of the fact that the hypocrisy, like I've said many times before, the stench of their hypocrisy curls my nose hairs. Now, speaking of hypocrisy, I want to go back about 2 months. And I realize that I'm sort of all over the map with topics. So far, we talked about the Department of Education. We've talked about bureaucracy. We're talking about hypocrisy. And, I want to take you back a couple of months. Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I have to agree with a lot of what she says and does, but there's some other things that are very shady. As a matter of fact, she's being scrutinized right now for participating in inside trading. More on that later. But the point is that about 2 months ago, Marjorie Taylor Greene was on the House floor, and she wanted to censure Ilhan Omar. And here's why.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, "I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen." Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar continued, "For as long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system." Whereas George Washington warned in his farewell address of 1796 to guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism, and further declared citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Whereas these statements by Representative Omar clearly violate the oath she took as an elected member of Congress to defend and protect the United States Constitution. Whereas Representative Omar has exhibited the treasonous tendencies George Washington warned about, and her actions must be condemned by all members of Congress who adhere to the oath they took upon assuming office. And whereas by openly admitting her efforts to advance Somalia's interest using her position as a United States representative, Representative Omar has revealed herself to be a foreign agent acting on behalf of a foreign government. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota be censured. Representative Ilhan Omar forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. Representative Ilhan Omar be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker, and Representative Ilhan Omar be and is hereby removed from the Committee of the Budget and the Committee on Education and the Workforce.
Okay, so you just heard that, and you know what? I should play the beginning of that again, because that's what I want to focus on. Listen to the beginning of this statement again. And again, folks, again, this is not me saying this stuff. This is why I'm here with the audio receipts. I'm pointing out the hypocrisy, and you're going to hear it straight from the horse's mouth in every case that I can provide. Again, here's the beginning of that statement. Listen carefully.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Okay, I'm going to pause that. You take an oath to the Constitution of the United States, period, right? Okay.
Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, "I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen."
Okay, I'm going to stop it. So she had to basically renounce any allegiance to any other foreign power. All right? It's real important that we understand that. So, where does the hypocrisy come in? The hypocrisy comes in when you start looking at the issue of Israel. Now, back when, let me see, about a year ago, let me see if I can find this clip here. Okay, here it is. Rick Sanchez, who used to be with CNN many years ago. But what he did is he flipped and he went over to RT, as did many other journalists from this country, because they were being drummed out for participating in journalism. I mean, you got Chris Hedges, who used to write for the New York Times, And he got booted out because he wanted to tell the truth and participate in journalism. So the New York Times basically let him go. And by the way, he did win a Pulitzer Prize for his work. So anyway, they booted him out. And so RT says, hey, come on over here. We'll give you a platform. So Chris Hedges went to RT, as did Larry King. Oh, some people say, RT's just filled with Russian agents. Oh, yeah, right. Like Larry King was a Russian agent. Yeah, right. How about Governor Jesse Ventura? Yeah, he went over to RT because they gave him a platform. How about the late Ed Schultz, who was a patriot to the bone? He worked for MSNBC, and he was staunchly against the bombing of Iraq under the G.W. Bush administration. And they didn't want any dissenting opinion, so they paid off his contract and they cut him loose. So RT says, hey, come on over here. Well, the same thing happened with Rick Sanchez. Rick Sanchez was a reporter for CNN. And, of course, they went extremely to the far left, and he was trying to stay centered, and they cut him loose. So RT says, hey, come on over here. Well, guess what? Rick Sanchez did a little story about loyalty oaths. Now, this ties in directly with what you just heard with Marjorie Taylor Greene. When you have an elected official, they take an oath to the United States Constitution, and they should have allegiance to no other country. Here's Rick Sanchez on RT.
I want to show you something, and because I know what you're thinking. I know what you're probably thinking right now. You're thinking, oh, sure, Rick Sanchez, of course. What you're probably talking about is one of those obscure state laws like the one they have in Alaska that says if you accidentally kill a moose, you have to eat it. That's actually a law in Alaska, by the way. There's one in Georgia that says it's illegal to sleep on a boat for more than 30 days. True. No, we're not talking about an obscure law. What we're talking about is an Israeli loyalty oath law that is becoming so common in the United States, it's now pervasive.
Well, okay, I'm going to pause that. Did you hear what he said? An Israeli loyalty oath that many members of Congress are required to sign up on. And this isn't the first time I heard about this. 20 years ago, I interviewed former Representative Cynthia McKinney, and she told us flat out that before they were even able to, once they're elected, before they even took the position, they had to take an oath to Israel. Rick Sanchez continues.
Take a look at the map. You see the red states? See all of those red states? 26 states have enacted this loyalty oath legislation. And let me show you the other one, the navy blue ones. The blue ones you see there? That's where this law is now pending. So 26 acted on, passed, 13 pending, only 11 states, the light blue ones you see there? The baby blue or the light blue, those are the ones where you can boycott Israel and, criticize Israel if you want. Again, look, it bears repeating. There is no such law keeping you from denouncing or boycotting the United States of America or even advocating causes that harm the U.S. economically. But there are laws from doing that against Israel. Curious.
Yes, it is curious, isn't it? Now, why do you suppose that is? Why do you suppose that is? They say that if there's someone that you're not allowed to criticize, well, then maybe you need to scrutinize. Anyway, there's more on this particular subject, but I want to take a quick break. Of course, to support the program, I ask that you do business with our sponsors.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered registered, doesn't void warranties. Results vary. Yes, and you can get more tank if you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Visit the sponsors page, and you can click right there. You'll get 10% off. And for $20, you'll get 5 tablets that you put in your gas tank. Not all at the same time, but as you put 2 in for your first tank of gas, and then after that, every tank you put 1 tablet in. And you will see, after you've run through that package, you will see quite a difference in your performance. Your engine will run better, and it'll run cleaner, and you'll be getting probably between 15 and 20% more mileage, which means that if you get 5 tablets, that's 5 tanks of gas. The 5th tank ends up being free if you're getting 20%. Think about that. Spend 20 and save a tank of gas. It's a no-brainer. Go to TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and get more tank. All right, that said, I want to get back to this issue about dual oaths, loyalty oaths. You just heard Rick Sanchez, and they said that 26 states, more than half of the states here, have already passed legislation that you have to take a loyalty oath to Israel. Whoa. And 11 more have that legislation on the table. So it's becoming increasingly difficult, or shall we say inconvenient, for anybody to criticize Israel. You can criticize your own government. You can say what you want about the U.S. government. I'm proud of my country. I'm ashamed of my government. You can say anything you want against Democrats, Republicans, independents. You could say anything you want against, this policy, that policy. But God forbid you should, criticize Israel. No. You can't do that. Well, guess what? Representative Thomas Massey has introduced legislation to require an oath to the Constitution that you're going to stand by it. Well, it's not an oath to the Constitution. They already took that. But anyway, it's having to do with dual citizenship, because there are many of our elected officials who have dual citizenship. How does that work? You cannot serve 2 masters, as they say. So if you've got citizenship for 2 countries, it's sort of like, okay, you got to pick one. And unfortunately, we have many members of Congress who have dual citizenship. How does that work? Anyway, here's Thomas Massey.
I don't want to see an Israeli flag. I want to see single loyalty to the United States of America. Tell me about the Dual Loyalty Disclosure Act.
Yeah, we swear an oath to the Constitution. And the question is, if you're a citizen of 2 countries, which oath are you taking more seriously? Or can you take them both seriously? Look, I would prefer that people with dual citizen have to renounce their citizenship in the other country before they run. But at a minimum, we should do what the bill I introduced does, which is require candidates for federal office to disclose whether they have dual citizenship and which countries they may have citizenship in. That way, the voters can decide whether they should be able to represent the United States.
Our loyalty should be singular, especially as an elected representative to the United States of America. Great to hear from you, Congressman Massey. Thank you so much.
There you go. So that's a step in the right direction if he can actually get that legislation to pass. And I think that's going to be a real uphill battle, because so many of our representatives are paid off. Remember those 3 words: bribery, coercion, blackmail. That is what drives our government, unfortunately. And with AIPAC paying off so many of our elected officials, and I'm sorry, that includes many people in the Trump administration and in his cabinet. I mean, these people are all paid to take that position. And how we're going to overcome that, I don't know. And how we're going to get enough people to get involved. When at the top of this show, I was pointing out how badly the population of this country has been dumbed down. They don't even know how many states are in the Union. They don't know what countries border the United States. They don't know where the capital of the United States is. And we expect them to get on board and have an intelligent opinion on one of these subjects? Seems to be going all according to plan, yes. Well, I got to tell you, there's a lot of folks that are getting really, really teed off about this, and I don't blame them. I mean, I'm seeing post after post after post on social media where people are saying, where are the perp walks? Where are the orange jumpsuits? Where are the handcuffs? Where are the ankle bracelets? Where are they? We've seen wholesale treason going on. There's so much being exposed about the Biden administration, so much being exposed with the trafficking of children, so much being exposed with the Cloward Piven directive, which was absolutely, brilliantly executed under the Biden-Harris administration. And of course, who and what is motivating people to do these things? People in positions of power, they're being told, they're given their marching orders. And of course, money talks, BS walks. So you do what the money tells you to do. And AIPAC has been paying off everybody. This is one of the reasons why many broadcasters and podcasters like Candace Owens and even the Young Turks, I don't necessarily agree with them, but I tell you that we're finding some common ground here. Anyway, I'm going to play this clip. Candace Owens did this, and she played a bunch of other clips. Everybody's sharing audio clips. I love it. Anyway, here's Candace Owens.
This is going to get even crazier, you guys, because it does seem that we are constantly carving out these special territory for discussion pertaining to Israel. Like the smears are never more insane. And it's something to pay attention to on the right. I am telling you guys, what is happening right now is insane. Right? They are trying to infringe upon our speech in ways that are getting very dark and very creepy. David Friedman, who was Trump's former U.S. ambassador in the first term, former U.S. ambassador to Israel, essentially is praising this current administration for jailing and deporting critics of Israel, and was specifically asked about me and Tucker Carlson, and he's calling for more deportation, jail, and the cutting of funding to anti-Semites, people that are openly discussing. This is going to be like Dave Smith in the future. Pay attention to this. Where are all of those free speech people who grifted off of free speech and who won't say anything, and recognizing that this administration, this current administration, is taking a turn that is quite dark, okay? It is not what we signed up for. We are supposed to be the people who defend speech. So why is it now I'm finding myself in agreement with Anna Kasparian and Cenk over at the Young Turks, who are calling out what is happening and how suddenly there is this squeeze on speech only as it pertains to the special topic of Israel? Take a listen to what Anna had to say on the Young Turks.
David Friedman, who actually was Trump's ambassador to Israel in his first term, he doesn't just stop at progressives and their critique of Israel. He's also focusing on the right wing as well. And I suspect that this is waking the right wing up.
Yeah, this is not going to play well.
Because if you think that free speech violations are only going to impact the left, you'd be mistaken. Take a look.
I condemn anti-Semitism on the right and on the left. I'm an equal opportunity condemner of anti-Semitism.
You're alluding to Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, none of them are any good on the right. On the left, I don't like any of these anti-Semites, and I'm not shy about it. There's no reason to think we're ever going to convince them, but we can deport them, we can put them in jail, we can make their lives miserable, we can cut off their funding, and that's what the Trump administration is doing for the first time.
Now understand what he considers anti-Semitism. And by the way, you're an American citizen. If you are spewing anti-Semitic garbage, you're actually free to do that as long as you don't act on it, right? Free speech is a thing. Hate speech is protected under the First Amendment. This guy thinks that simply criticizing how Israel is prosecuting the war is already anti-Semitic. It's already anti-Semitism. And he wants to throw you in prison for it.
Yeah.
In prison for it.
And by the way, that was an answer to a question about Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. So we're not talking about student visas anymore.
Oh my God.
Now we're talking about core American podcasters, people in media on the right and the left. If you criticize Israel, he says, well, you have no heart and you have no mind. You have no heart because of course you should know when Israel slaughtered 15,000 children, it was the most moral thing to do. And if you dare disagree, we'll arrest you. And what did he say? Oh, we'll cut off your funding. By the way, he's like, it's anti-Semitic to say that the Jews would control speech in America. But if you dare cross Israel, we will cut off your funding, we will deport you, we will arrest you. But don't say it. If you say it, what I just said, I'm gonna call you an anti-Semite.
I know, maybe I'll throw you in prison.
Okay, they're saying, well, we start with the left, but we're equal opportunity condemners.
Yeah.
So Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and everyone else, you start slightly criticizing Israel. We got a jail in Louisiana and then one in El Salvador that Israel can send you to via the US government.
Yeah. So the issue here is anti-Semitism. Well, it seems to me that everything is bass-ackwards here. You've heard on this broadcast numerous times, and I will refer to the Jerusalem Post last March, I think it was, or in May. They published an article about the Johns Hopkins University doing an ancestry study on the Palestinians and on the Israelis. And guess what, campers, if you didn't hear it, 97.5% of Israelis are not indigenous. They are from Eastern Europe and from North America. That's 97.5% of Israelis. They are not the Semites. The same ancestry study was done on Palestinians, and what do you know? 80% of them were indeed indigenous. The Palestinians are the Semites. Got to wrap that around your head. And more people are starting to figure this out. So what that means is that the Israelis are the anti-Semites. And so if you're going to be screaming about anti-Semitism, we should be focusing the lens on Israel and on those who support Israel. And that means the United States government. You're all a bunch of hypocrites. And you're supporting the extermination, the annihilation of an entire indigenous group of people who had every right to be there. Now, I'm not here to support Muslims, and I'm not here to condemn Jews. I am here to criticize and condemn the acts of the Israeli government and of our government for relentlessly supporting them. Why is Israel our greatest ally? What do they do for us? What do we do for them? Well, we send them billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars every year. And as a result, the Israelis have free education, free college, free health care. And they have a lovely lifestyle over there, despite the fact that it is a safe haven for pedophiles and deviants. But the bottom line here is that it just seems to me that Israel has turned into an absolute, I don't know, I mean, they embody everything that seems to be evil. Not all the Israelis now. I'm not condemning all of them because a lot of them are standing up against Netanyahu and his regime. But the bottom line here is that Israel is exterminating Semites. That's the way it is. Anyway, I just wanted to go off on that little tangent here. We got to get things straightened out here because everything is topsy-turvy. Everything is upside down. It's just, I don't know how to get through to a lot of people. But anyway, I'm doing my best here. And like I said, you got Candace Owens, you got the Young Turks, you got a lot of people now who are criticizing Israel and they're being labeled as anti-Semites. And now they're passing laws that you can't even criticize it as Israel. So much for your freedom of speech, right? Anyway, all right, that said, I'm going to change gears just a little bit. Because it is April 15th. Yes, it is. And for that reason, I think it's rather appropriate that we take a look at the IRS. Now, I remind you that the Freedom Law School, back in 2020, it was 25 years ago, they put up $300,000 as reward. And it was split into three different parts. $100,000 for anyone who could show a law that required you to file an income tax return. And another $100,000 if you could show an act that required that you file an income tax return, or another $100,000 for any mandate that required you to file an income tax return. Well, what do you know? A couple of IRS agents, and these were gun-toting agents. They were the ones that kicked in the door and demanded that you pay up and all that. Let me see. There was John Turner, and there was, oh gosh, on the tip of my tongue here. John Turner and, oh yeah, well, there's Sherry Peel Jackson. Oh yeah, she was a forensic accountant for the IRS. And so John Turner, Sherry Peel Jackson, and Joe Bannister, that's a name I was trying to think of. I talked to him a couple months ago. But anyway, the three of them tried to find a law, an act, or a mandate that required people to file an income tax return. And guess what? They couldn't find it. So Aaron Russo, who was a Hollywood producer, he produced the movie Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. You may recall that. He was also the producer of the movie The Rose with Bette Midler, and he was also Bette Midler's manager for a while. But he did a documentary film called From Freedom to Fascism. You can find it on YouTube. Do a search. I highly suggest you watch it. You'll learn something about the fraud of the IRS, and that inspired me to write the following song. Here we go.
You stand there with your hand out, demanding that I pay the money that I work for. At least that's what you say. But what gives you that power? Who died and made you boss? I'm barely getting by today. I can't afford that loss. So if you don't show some legal obligation that I pay, put your hand back in your pocket, turn around and go away. There are folks who rot in prison because they didn't pay, and the troubles that their families have, well, they just won't go away. So many generations have had to live in fear. They dig and scrape and struggle to pay income tax each year. I've got a peaceful nature and I don't like to fight, but you're pushing us against the wall, 'cause you won't do what's right. Show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, I've got a peaceful nature and I don't like to fight, but you're pushing us against the wall, 'cause you won't do what's right. I pay tax on my gasoline and for my property, a tax on all the things I buy and when I go out to eat. Sherry Jackson, Aaron Russo, Eddie Brown, and Rock and Rose, Irwin Ship and Joseph Bannister showed we all pay through the nose. There are millions that have seen freedom to fascism this year. I suggest you turn around and get your butt right out of here. 2,000 pages in a book, the IRS's code. When you read it very carefully, you'll find that nothing's owed. I did a little research till I found income defined. Well, I ain't no corporation, so leave that argument behind. Yeah, you can stick your chest out, you can prance and you can strut, but you better do it someplace else before I kick your butt. Show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, show me the law. Show me the law. Well, you can stick your chest out, you can prance and you can strut, but you better do it someplace else before I kick your butt. The President, the Congress, and the Senate know the facts, but they won't lift a finger, no, they won't stop the income tax. They've got their corporate buddies making fortunes from a war. To them, deaths are statistics, and they're just keeping score. I don't like intimidation, and I refuse to live in fear. I suggest you quit your job and go and find a new career. You say it's voluntary, like when you stop at a red light, but that law is written in the books, it's there in black and white. If no law says that we must file an income tax return, let's get all those 1040s, light a match and watch them burn. Your income tax extortion plot won't work with me no more, so you may as well forget it, turn around, but there's the door. Show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, show me the law. Show me the law. No, your income tax extortion plot won't work with me no more, so you may as well forget it, turn around, but there's the door. The IRS we now know ain't no federal agency, so you ain't no federal agent, you've got no immunity. If you're wondering why your claim of jurisdiction we reject, it's because that anatomically your law is incorrect. You say you have authority and you say you've got the right, but that's a lie, you're just a money-hungry parasite. We had a revolution here so many years ago, When the people wanted to complain, they had nowhere to go. With no representation, people started to rebel. Then they fought a revolution till the greedy tyrant fell. If history repeats itself, I think we're almost there. And you're fighting on the wrong side, but you haven't got a prayer. Show me the law. Yeah, show me the law. Yeah, if history repeats itself, I think we're almost there. And you're fighting on the wrong side, but you haven't got a prayer. Show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, your income tax extortion plot won't work with me no more. So you may as well forget it. Turn around, but there's the door. Show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, you can stick your chest out, you can prance and you can strut, but you better do it someplace else before I kick you. Show me the law.
And we're still waiting for somebody to show us the law. Still waiting. 25 years after the fact. But people just keep on doing it because they've always done it. And that's just the way it's done. I don't know why we're doing it. We always did it anyway. I don't know. Why am I doing this? I don't know. Anyway. All right, we're winding down. And again, I ask respectfully that you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. TheWTFReports.com. Visit our sponsors page and do business. And one of the really remarkable products that we're involved with is called the Wave Watch. If you haven't heard about it, you should check it out because it involves Rife technology. We all know the Rife told us that frequency is everything. And we now know that this is very true. If you say nice things and positive things to water and then freeze it, you'll see that it makes beautiful crystals. But if you say nasty things and hateful things to water and then freeze it, it's going to have some very crazy looking crystals. So we know that intentions and we know frequency has a lot to do with physicality. And this is what the Wave Watch is all about. So you want to check that out. Go to TheWTFReports.com and check out the Wave Watch. Now, I'm not here to tell you that it's going to, treat or cure anything, but I do believe that those frequencies are helping people. As a matter of fact, I have a friend of mine who I loaned my Wave Watch to, and she's telling me that she's having all kinds of really positive experiences. So I will I'll get some testimonials from her, and you can hear it directly from her. Anyway, that said, we are, of course, like I just played that song, it is tax time. So now a lot of people are saying, again, they're posting on social media, on X and on Facebook, Instagram. They've had it. They have absolutely had it. One guy says, I'm not paying my taxes anymore. I'm not going to do it. Now that we're finding out where our tax money has been going all this time. And by the way, what was the lawyer's name? Mike Benz. I'm going to be listening to an interview he did after the show. U.S. aid money has been going into the pockets of judges. Now think about the implications of that. And if that's the truth, and there's conflict of interest going on there, then we may see some serious shakedowns in the judicial system. And Lord knows it has to happen. So, that said, let's keep our eyes open on that and support Elon Musk and his efforts with Doge. Because the more he digs, the more he finds. And the more he finds, the better off the American people are going to be. All right, that said, that's going to do it for today's Tuesday installment of the WTF Reports. I sincerely hope that you're enjoying the broadcast, and if you are, share it, like it, and tell your friends about it. And if you're listening on BitChute or a Rumble or YouTube, make sure that you like it and subscribe. That's going to help us out a whole lot. All right, that said, we're going to be out of here. I'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday, Hump Day, and I'll be back here with more audio receipts to get you folks thinking outside of the cage. All right? God bless you all. Stay safe. And above all, stay free. I'll see you tomorrow.